What's good, Foundation Nation? Today we have the Mobius from EV-7. This is their third putter released in their putter exclusive company's history. This one is interesting because they're claiming this to be the straightest flying putter out there. Whenever a company makes a claim like that, you know Hunter and I are going to get to the bottom of it. We got to figure out, is that true or not? But right away what I noticed, it's got that very, you see almost two different types of putters out there. You kind of have the traditional, almost AVR kind of slightly rounded into a shoulder type feel, and then you have these ones that have this very blunt edge. This is kind of like I would say a Keystone has this. A PA4 is kind of known for this edge. The Magic from Gateway kind of has it like this. And so I've thrown a lot of putters that feel just like this, so we'll see if this one's any different. I would assume the ones that I typically throw with this shape are pretty flippy, so if they're making the claim of a straight flying putter, I assume it's not going to turn over a ton. This is their OG base plastic, so we're going to give it a toss and see if it lives up to the hype. All right, so for starters, I think I'm just going to kind of toss it out there. Just give it an 80% throw, kind of an upshot type throw, and just try to throw it flat and just see what it does. Turn that one a little bit. All right, that one came out a little bit low with some turn, but I will admit, though I kind of missed through that, it didn't seem like it wanted to dump right, even though it had a little bit of ante on it. So that's an encouraging start. We'll try and get the next one a little more flatter, maybe even a little bit of hyzer, and see, because when you're claiming that a putter flies straight, you don't want it just to be, thrown flat, goes flat. You want it to be a disc that if you do mess the angle up a little bit, it's going to be forgiving, and that kind of seemed that way. Gave it a little anhyzer, and it kind of just held straight with that anhyzer instead of really wanting to tug right. All right, I'm going to get this one up in the air a little better this time. I'm going to give it flat to maybe a little bit of hyzer and see what it does. Getting out of my hand pretty flat. Wow. Wow. That's interesting. I mean, I threw that very flat. That disc had no desire to move off that line, right or left, and it dropped on a dime. That's impressive. They might be onto something. That's impressive. And honestly, I gave that enough torque that if it was like a flippy putter, which is typically what you see with the putter that just drops at the end, it would have turned with the amount of speed I just gave that. That was interesting. We're gonna give the next one a bunch of hyzer and see if it flips up or if it just kind of holds straight, because that was pretty cool. That was cool. So actually what I want to do with this disc before I give it a hyzer, I'm really curious to see what happens if I give it a ton of anhyzer, because it seems like it's kind of one of those discs, and I think EV-7 just seems to make discs that like to correct out of your hand. We noticed this with the Penrose, because that last one I think I got over on it a little bit and it just kind of leveled out and dropped flat. So I'm gonna see if I can give it a ton of anhyzer, if it then decides to burn right, or if it still kind of helps me out and just has a nice slow coast to the right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely committed all the way to that one, and it definitely doesn't have enough stability that it's gonna pan out of a ton of anhyzer like that, especially when you get after it. So with that being said, though, I will be curious to see what it does on hyzer, because on anhyzer it flew kind of like you'd expect an understable disc to, but when I threw it flat, or even with a little bit of ante, it had a lot of torque resistance. So I'm curious to see with the hyzer if it'll flip up at all. All right, the last thing I want to do here is just give this a good bit of hyzer and get into it, just see what it does, see how it reacts to it. Oh, flipped up. All right, I actually am surprised to see it flipped up a little bit. It never got past flat. It was a really nice flight, but interesting disc because it seems when thrown flat, it wants to really hold that. It doesn't want to turn from flat. It only really turn if you give it anhyzer, but then when you throw it with a little bit of hyzer, it does kind of get up to flat if you really rip on it. So this one's a bit of a head scratcher. So the Mobius, this is an interesting one. Kind of a unique flight. I always get a little iffy when companies make claims like Straightest flying this or that. So, that kind of already puts me in a certain mindset. But I will say, when I threw that one dead straight and it kind of just dropped on the line, yeah, that was cool. That flew nice. But I don't want to say it's anything like completely out of the normal, because like at the end of the day, putters are designed to have pretty forgiving straight flight. So it's not like some anomaly when you see a straight flying putter. But I think I saw enough in this putter making it unique, and like it is a very nice throwing putter, that I'm comfortable giving this a pretty good score. I think I'd give this an 8.3 foundation certified score. I think I dock a few points for the claims, but you know, marketing is marketing. But at the end of the day, this is a nice putter. I would not have an issue throwing this in my bag whatsoever.